Good evening. The board has now returned from closed session and will begin the regular session of the Keys Union School District Board of Trustees. Items 4.1, report out closed session items. We have nothing to report out. 4.2, approval amendment of agenda. We just have one update. 7.1, we have a time from 5 to 7 that I'll read. Is there anything else?
No, there are no additions.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as is with the updated time on there?
I'll approve.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to flag salute. Let's go, Mr. Greener. You're in charge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Thank you. Moving on to invitation to address the Board of Trustees. Do we have anything? Dana? No? Okay, moving on to announcements. 7.1, Spratley Middle School Back to School Night will be tomorrow, September 15th from 5 to 7 p.m. Hot dogs will be served. 7.2, Keys to Learning Charter Junior High Student Council Election will also be tomorrow, September 15th. Keys to Learning Charter High School Leadership Breakfast is September 15th. Spratley Middle School Carl's Jr. Fundraiser, September 22nd and 23rd. You go there, you purchase your food, and say you're from Spratley, and a percentage will go to the school. 7.5, Spratley Middle School Hat Spirit Day, September 29th. Moving on to 8.1, staff reports. We've read the reports. Do we have any questions? All right, moving on to consent agenda items. 9.1 through 9.5. Any questions or concerns? We have a motion to approve as all.
I'll motion.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to action items. 10.1, approval of certificated classified confidential management personnel action. This one was a long one. Any questions or concerns? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. 10.2, approval of Keys to Learning Charter School fifth grade teacher Galen Morris to enter into a multiple subject with EL authorization short-term staff permit status permit for the 2021-2022 school year. Didn't we do a couple of these already?
Yes, and again, this is just to share with the board that every year we have to apply to be able to allow individuals who are not fully credentialed to enter into a kind of a preliminary type of a certificate that allows them to simultaneously go to school and continue their credential program while working in the classroom as well.
All right. Any questions or concerns? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Ooh, I'm gonna take Mike on that one. I have a first. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.3, approval of switching regular scheduled board meetings from the second Tuesday to the second Thursday of every month. So this is for personnel issues. We were asking to move it to Thursday instead of Tuesday. How does that work for everybody?
It won't work for me. I have prior engagements on that day during every month. So I'm willing to, on the first or the third of Thursdays.
So the Thursday works, but not the second. So the
Right.
first or the third?
I say the third.
District office? Yes, Stephanie?
I second that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've always held it on the second week. I think maybe if we jump too far in the first week, we might kind of cut ourselves short for some timing and some paperwork. So the district office would want the third?
Yes, I think the third would be
Third Thursday.
most appropriate
Sounds good.
on a Thursday.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we change it to the third Thursday.
The third Thursday. And then, just to let everybody know that by moving this, we might include some special meetings, but,
Oh, yeah.
we gotta do what we gotta do, yeah? All right, I have a first, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
thank you. You'll see us a different time next month. Moving on to 10.4, public hearing for Suctional materials for 2021-2022 school year. We're gonna open that at 6:05.
And we actually did this last month, but we overstepped because it has to be done after the first day of instruction, and we did it the night before the first day of instruction, so we're having to bring it to you again.
All right. So how's instruction gone since we did it?
It's been okay for a full month. I'd say trying, but it's happened.
All right. Anything else? We're going to close at 6:06. 10.5, approval of resolution 2021-2022 instructional materials for the school year. Any questions or concerns? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first, we have a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.6, public hearing of gain limits and unaudited actuals. We're going to open that at 6:06. Is you, Stephanie? Okay, gotcha. Any questions or concerns for the public comments? Everybody look at their papers for 60 seconds. All right, we're going to close that at 6:07. Moving on to 10.7, approval resolution 21-2204, adoption of the 2021-2022 gain limits. Any questions or concerns? We have a motion to approve.
I'll motion.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.8, approval of budget unaudited actuals.
He's already up there.
I didn't hear you. I can't hear anyone because of these masks.
Yeah.
Okay, so tonight I'm presenting the 2021 unaudited actuals. So this is how we closed the 2021 school year, and these are considered unaudited actuals, and the balances are considered estimated until fully audited, and that'll happen sometime in December. So you have your financial packet. If you turn to page 2, these columns are a summary of each one of the reporting periods and how they changed during each reporting period, which I have to say, due to COVID, there was a lot of fluctuations in the fund balance. We ended the year 2.3 million higher than we anticipated at budget adoption, and we ended the year 891,000 lower than what we estimated at budget adoption for 21-22. That was really confusing, sorry. If you turn to page 3, this is the worksheet that outlines all of the resources that we received throughout the year. The lines that are highlighted in green are some of the additional COVID funds that we received over the year. On page 4, this is the document that you're familiar with. It outlines our ending fund balance and what we have set aside for reserves. So if you look at line 7 in the far right column, we have a projected ending fund balance of $5.4 million. We have our 9.5% reserve for economic uncertainties, revolving cash of $5,000. Our medical billing account has $35,000 in it. Technology, we have $403,000 set aside. I wanted to specifically point out our donation account has $40,000 in it right now.
Wow.
And that is due in large part to Vanderpool Company. In the last 3 or 4 years, they have contributed over $27,000 into that account. So that's a nice little pot of money now. I think when I started here, it was only at about $10,000. We have $431,000 set aside for textbooks, $54,000 for transportation, our lottery set aside of $354,000, and then we have restricted funds of $601,000, and that's primarily COVID funds. So we have a total unassigned, unappropriated balance of $2.4 million, which gives us a total reserve. So when we end that fiscal year, it's going to show our total reserve is at 30%, which is fantastic. That is going to change drastically this next coming year. So if you turn to page 5, you can see that these are the ending fund balances historically. What we're closing, the first blue bar is how we're closing 2021. And then the second blue bar is the projected ending balance for 21-22. That is actually going to change quite a bit at first interim reporting period. It'll look very different because we will include all of the new COVID expenditures, including the 15 new positions that we've added since budget adoption. We've actually just added those in the last several weeks of school. So really trying to scramble and get those funds spent the best way that we can. I'm really happy to tell you that we were able to add an office assistant at each one of the sites, the elementary and the middle school. So we have a 4.5-hour assistant at each one of those sites. Well, we've posted for it. I don't think we've hired yet. We've increased our nursing time with the county, the contracted time, from 2.75 days per week to a full 5 days per week. We've advertised for 4 additional paras, 1 at the middle school and 3 at the elementary school. And those paras will be to help target those students who need sort of a one-on-one assistant. We've also added we're advertising for 1 additional health aide at the elementary school, and we're advertising for bilingual preferred. We think that'll be a really good addition at that site. Then if you turn to page 7, this is how the charter school ended their fiscal year, and their report is a little bit different. If you look at the very first column, that is the unaudited actuals. So they had total revenues of $3.9 million, expenditures of just over $3 million. And then after they made their loan payment, the $112,000, they had an increase in their fund balance of $804,000. So their ending fund balance is $2.3 million. But there's really something interesting that happened this year that I've never seen happen before. Because of all of the changes in the calculation for the LCFF funding formula and what we call the EPA, which is a component of the LCFF funding formula, there were lots of swings in how the state revenues were being calculated. And it ended up that the charter school was overpaid $430,000. The state didn't tell us about this, or at least it wasn't advertised. And as we were closing the books, I realized that the revenue in the LCFF account for the charter school was much higher than anticipated. So I actually reached out to CDE, and if you turn the page, there's a spreadsheet, and this is the worksheet from CDE, and they actually have a column that says amount charter overpaid, and it happened to all the charter schools. So you can see the orange block shows that our charter school was overpaid $430,000. If you turn the page again, this is the backup of my email to CDE asking, why is this sitting here and what's going to happen with it? And basically they said that this money will be taken back the following, so this current school year, as monthly deductions to their apportionment. So if I hadn't set this money aside, it would look like their ending fund balance was all their money to spend, but it's less the $430,000. So that's why I'm showing it as an assignment in their fund balance.
Were they going to plan on telling us, or were they just going to deduct it and not tell?
I know when I called our auditors about it, he said he had just heard about it that day, and there was a lot of discussion going on, and they weren't really sure what was happening. So I felt really good that I got the email back from CDE telling me exactly what was happening. So that was a bit of a surprise, a bit of a shocker. I have not been overpaid before by CDE.
A nice surprise.
So we just want to make sure we don't spend that money. Anyway, back to page 7. The charter school has restricted funds of $127,000. They have their reserve for their 3 months of payroll of $482,000. They have a set aside to pay their debt service of $1 million and their technology set aside of $298,000. So I think, if you turn to page 8. This is the charter school's historical fund balance. So you can see the last 2 blue bars are looking very positive, but remember that that includes the $430,000. So those amounts we'll just have to continue to show as set-asides throughout the year. Any questions?
Would it be in our best interest to pay it back sooner than later, or just let them deduct
We
it?
have no ability to do that. We have to wait for CDE. What they're going to do is they're going to withhold it from the monthly apportionments that the charter receives.
Yeah.
So they'll withhold a portion of each payment that they receive in this fiscal year. So essentially, if we had spent that money in 2021, we would owe the state $430,000.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Any questions? All right.
All
We have a motion to approve.
A motion that we approve?
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Oh, you lucked out. Wes would have had a million questions for you.
Yes, he would.
Moving on to 10.9, approval of Head Start paraprofessional job description. Mr. Brazil,
This is just a,
update.
an update, and we need, the job description has not been sufficient, so we're asking that it be approved tonight here.
All right. Any questions or concerns? Motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
We have a first. We have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.10, approval of Keys to Learning School Temporary Student Support Counselor included in the ELO funding expenditure plan.
Yep, so this is as a result of funding that the charter is asking to hire this temporary person to serve as a counselor for students at the charter. So
You know how many hours you're going to use them? You have any candidates?
the problem will be what week will we find one? That's the problem. Yeah.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
We have a first. We have a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on, 10.11, approval of temporary preschool mentor stipend for the 2021-2022 school year at $5,000.
This is a stipend. The person that we have conducting or running the preschool program is not complete with all of her work that she needs to do in terms of classes and things. And so we are asking to use someone from the Head Start program to be her kind of her mentor or her support, which is probably the most beneficial to us because we couldn't find someone to take on the preschool unless it was
And it's in-house already.
exactly.
And we have that candidate set up.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions? We have a motion to approve.
A motion that we approve?
We have a first. We have
I'll
a second.
second. I'll second.
Can we get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Move on, 10.12, approval of 2021-2022 Foothill Horizons Outdoor School Contract.
And this is something that has been placed on the LCAP, and yearly we come before the board and ask that the board approve the funding of Foothill, of the program at Foothill Horizons. Now, of course, last year we were unable to do it, so we're hoping that this year they are planning for it. There are stipulations in the contract that obviously address that should we continue in a pandemic or have something, that there are dates and things to follow where we'd be able to recoup our money.
I saw on social media they had their first school go up today.
Yep.
So they're operating. So it'd be great to
I'm
start.
glad they're open. So I was
Yeah.
pretty bummed my daughter didn't get to go last
Yeah.
year.
So approving the contract, hoping we get to stay open and can send them. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.13, approval of Keys to Learning Charter Resource Teachers increased FTE from .6022 to .0811.
So this is as a result of the need to support students with special needs. So where the numbers or the count of students who qualify for services has gone up, so we need to increase the FTE for the individual who serves as that teacher.
All right. Any questions or concerns? Motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 11, discussion items, LCAP update.
Well, the LCAP, we're going to see it again in December or February. We will have, what actually happened is, since the last LCAP that we submitted back in June, there has been an additional allocation of funding that we now then have to go back and enter in our LCAPs update them as to what are we going to do with this additional, for us, about $300,000 or a little more than that. So both the charter and the district will have to amend the LCAP again to say how we're spending those funds. However, they don't have the template ready, so as soon as they do, then we can begin to start working on that. But what we've tried to do, Stephanie and I have met, and we've kind of talked about some of the things that were in the LCAP that we can either increase or provide additional things, like she was talking about, the extra help in the offices, or additional instructional aids. So that's what we're going to do with the LCAP. But yeah, just when we thought it was safe that we'd not be hearing about it until June, it's back.
That's why it always stays on the agenda.
It's always sitting on the agenda.
Any questions or concerns? All right, moving on to 11.2, SMS Track Committee meeting. Mr. Brazil?
So we held our first meeting yesterday afternoon, and the discussion was really to share with Stephanie and I and Eric, or the district office staff, to have an idea of what we're going to meet with the architect and what we're going to ask for. So what are the parameters? What kind of a track are we looking at? Where exactly would we want it to be located? All of those things. So the meeting was very productive. It wasn't a very long meeting because I think we're in the infancy stages of planning for it. But I think we got the direction that we needed to pursue it. And so we will keep you updated as we hear information that after meeting with the architect and all that.
All right, the ball is rolling.
The ball is rolling.
All right, moving on to 11.3, library lease between Stanislaus County and Keys Union School District.
Yeah, that one's not rolling so good. The library lease, we had a meeting about 2 weeks ago. The county was very much interested in finding out whether we had funds and some of the federal stimulus funds that we could use on revamping those facilities. They didn't seem to me, and I know that others who were, Jeff, you were there as well, if you want to add something to it, it was not, they are not eager to put any money into that facility, and they're hoping that the district does it. I didn't see any desire to build or do anything. My only hope, and which I said that I would ask that the board entertain or discuss, would be actually leasing them the building, which then we would be responsible for all the upkeep. However, that building is in such a terrible state of disrepair that that's going to be costly. So I kind of tonight would just share with all of you that that's kind of where we are. We did not say this would be what the lease amount would be. We didn't say what we'd do exactly to it. So we have a meeting, I believe, in 2 more weeks.
Monday.
On Monday.
Yeah.
It is Monday. And we will share with them whatever the outcome is of today. So I don't know what the board wants to think about. I'm not seeing as being very productive.
I wasn't too sure about the meeting until actually one of the county employees, Raul Mendez, joined in, and he's in the CEO's office. And he was a big refreshing to be part of the meeting. So I actually do feel that we might get somewhere with him. He's always worked with this community. I've known him personally for many years with helping with all the community functions. And he cares a lot about Keys, and he's not looking at the bottom line like the library staff are. The library staff see it as we've given them a free building, free rent for 20 plus years. It's our fault. Why don't we keep doing it? And before that building was built 20 years ago, they were in a classroom. And all we're asking is for them to come up with something, and they really just threw it all back on us. But I feel really positive we might get some different information coming Monday, but I don't know. So
They were also very interested, or they acted like they were interested in actually purchasing a portion of the land, which I said, and this is my personal opinion, and I shared with them that it was mine, not the board's, but that I thought that was absolutely not an appropriate thing to do, because should either site ever need to grow, we may need those areas, and that may be a classroom at some point. So I don't think the district is in anywhere ready to sell a piece of property to them, especially when, you know, you've been getting it for free all these years. You should be thankful. So that was just my personal 2 cents in the meeting, and I did share that.
yeah, no,
with them.
and I feel that could be an option, because that is where we could put 2 portables. We definitely know that.
Yeah.
But that's a perfect little land for the library. I want to see the library succeed, but not on our dime. And so they have to come up with something. I do think that's a viable option. I understand that it's taking growth from the community and the school. So it's something we have to really, really discuss and think about before it comes there. But I do think that's a viable option if they want to take full responsibility and build something there.
Well, and we plan on having that library there for a
Why do
long
they have to
time.
build here, though? They could build in town, they could use
There's
another.
really not much locations, Jim.
There's a place at the big store they could get.
Yeah.
If
Well, at
they-
one time it was at the big store
yeah,
too.
they could do it.
But
If
it's
they
just
got money
something,
and want to buy something.
it's something they spent the whole month waiting for us to come back and tell them
Yeah.
something.
And if you give them a lease, they're going to demand it, everything be fixed immediately.
But the shops at the
gonna-
big
I
stores
don't
are
see that.
small.
Yeah. So it's just something that this board will have to put a lot of interest in when we see what they want to do. They threw a couple prices. They think a repair would be about 350,000 or a new structure about 600. So, and that's what I've been saying this whole time is I don't want to spend our 350,000 to repair a building. There's holes in the back of the building, Jeff. You
The
can
big
see-
rats or what?
No, dry rot. But it needs a roof. There's a lot of stuff that needs done. But, you know, they've gotten this facility for 20 years from us for free. And then a classroom before that. So I'm really hoping that with the new people that join the meeting, we can get somewhere, but it's kind of stressful and not as enjoyable. You guys have any other questions or concerns that when we go in these meetings, we kind of have a feeling? I really want to see the library, but not on our dime. We can't.
I agree.
Yeah.
Especially when they just spent all that money in Empire.
Empire and Turlock just got huge remodels or new buildings, and when we bring that up, they say, "Have you seen the contract says free?"
I have to say this as the superintendent. I think that they are absolutely out of their minds. What they proposed is that we as a district, a very poor district and small, in a community that is not affluent, to give them what they did not demand of any other city in this county. I think it is absolutely a disgrace, and I would be embarrassed if I sat on the county board to know that this is how they're treating this district. And as long as I'm superintendent and I have to attend those meetings, I'm going to continue to say that if they want a library, they need to be supportive of it. They can't expect the public school to put on their own library and to function the county program. I don't think that that's an appropriate thing. They knew that there is money out there. They too received federal funding. They didn't bring it to the table. They wanted to know what we had to bring to them. That's not appropriate.
I agree.
Yeah. Any input? All right, we'll keep you updated. Moving on to 11.4, COVID-19 Funding Committee Priorities List.
So we opened up to committee, and we also sent out surveys. We did staff, community, students to kind of share what is it that they were wanting us to use some of these funds that we have that are called the ESSER 3 funds. So I think we've kind of have an idea. There are a number of things that came up that we'll be putting on the plan. The plan will come before the board to be approved at the October meeting. And it has to kind of be completed between the end of September and that board meeting. But again, we got lots of input, and so what we're taking is kind of the top 4 or 5 things that tend to fit. A lot of it is going to be infrastructure in terms of roofing, air, HVAC kind of things, and also a lot of the bathroom fixtures so that they are touchless and so that kids aren't necessarily touching sinks or having to turn on faucets. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking at that are fairly costly. But I think that would be the most beneficial, given that we have those funds there one time to really bring up our facility. So that's kind of where we are.
Any other questions? All right, moving on to 12, reports. 12.1, Superintendent Report.
Okay, well, so the first month of school is now behind us. It hasn't been a real easy month for anyone. I think it's been a struggle, to say the least. But we have a caring staff, and students are, I believe, much happier to be back than they ever were on distance learning, that's for sure. And the challenges continue, but I think we will certainly get through it. The middle school students have been able to once again begin to participate in sports, soccer, and volleyball, and I think that was the very first volleyball game at home. It had been the first game in almost 2 years that we've been in and live with, and I will say that our students have been nothing but professional and appropriate, especially when it comes to masking. I think that they have been great. They followed the rules. They didn't question it. We had some other schools that we had to kind of do some interception there and try to get them to agree as well. But our kids have been, and our parents, all of them, I'm very proud of that. The LCAP, again, well, I've already shared, it'll be updated in February. It'll be a new, a new template. That template changes every year. The committee to address ESSER, like I said, we've already met. We're going to be working on the plan, and then it'll be before the board in October. We're trying to meet the immediate testing requirement for shorter quarantine times. So what we're trying to do is be able to actually provide the testing on campuses so that if a student versus being home for 10 days, it would be 7 days. And also staff members who have not been vaccinated, they will have to be vaccinated, I believe, beginning in October, I believe October 15th, once every week. So we're trying to get that going and having at least 2 people at each of the sites who are licensed and registered to do so. Yes, Stephanie? Tested, I'm sorry, I said vaccinated. Thank you. No, I'm glad you said.
I caught that, but I didn't want to correct you like Stephanie does.
No,
How embarrassing.
no, thank you, Stephanie. No, I'm not. No, it's testing, but those who are not vaccinated will have to be tested every week. Yeah, no. Although there are schools that are able to do the testing and the vaccination at the same day, we're not there. I really want to thank, and right now I'm the only one that's able to do the testing. I think tomorrow Dana and I are going to work on assigning the training programs to a number of other individuals on all of our sites so that we have people ready to go. It's been a fiasco though, because tests were back ordered from anywhere to 4 to 8 weeks. The ones we received were expired. And so it's just been one of those things that if it can happen, it happens.
So we have a nurse 5 days a week now. Are they able to administer?
They will have to go through the training, and that, yes, they will be, but they will have to go through it. Yep. And that's one of the thankful things is that what we're hoping is both the health techs at the sites will be able to do that as well. It's really not a difficult process. It's just you have to be accurate and responsible. It's very serious. So I wanted to take this opportunity to thank PAL for their support in taking on after school and supporting us with the ACES program. I think that's wonderful, and they have been extremely supportive. So I thank them for that. I want to thank our entire district staff for the hard work on building the in-person transition environment for our kids. It's not been easy. That's when I say, first month probably feels more like 3 months because it's a lot of learning. That year and a half really impacted far more than anyone has an idea. We also had our track facility committee meeting, which we shared and will continue to share with everybody as we find out more. I'll also be meeting with Mr. Ron Holcomb and Christine Robertson from San Luis Coastal Education Foundation. They are wanting to perhaps use Keys as a location to start what they call kind of a hub or a STEM lab, and that it would be of no cost to the district. It would be completely done by philanthropy. I don't know whether that will be possible or not, but I figure it is certainly worth engaging someone about it. The library, I think we've already said enough about the library. I also have some interest from the community group that's involved with the Realtors Association in helping us or working with us collaboratively to come up with a facility that they can use for cricket, and then pay to use the facilities. Again, it's a meeting and we'll see where that goes. And we continue with, as Stephanie said, we had 15 positions. Many of those are still not filled. We have a number of them on EdJoin. If you know anybody who is looking for jobs, we really do have a large number of positions, and we hope to fill them as soon as we possibly can. And that's all I have for today.
All right, any questions? All right, moving to board member comments. Ms. Raymond?
I don't have too much. I'm very glad that we're back going to school, and glad to see the kids all playing sports and as best they can. Or all the kids seem to willingly wear their masks. I think the parents have more problem with it than the kids. But Jeff and I had the opportunity to go to the Charter High School Honor Society induction little ceremony last night, and it was pretty good. And weather worked out well. The shade come over. It was pretty pleasant actually, and it went well. The kids were happy, and it's a good thing. Glad we went.
All right, moving on to Mr. Burnett.
Yeah, I want to be on the record backing up with Mr. Helio on the library situation. So I wanted it to be on the record that I agree with you. And with the staff, I'm happy and I'm proud that, we're going forward with the school, and you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up.
All right, Mr. Greener?
No comment today.
No comment. You went to some volleyball games? You've been going around? All right. I have several things. Back to school night at Keys was amazing. It was, I walked around with Mr. Brazil, and Mr. Murray thought there could have been more numbers turned out. I thought it was incredible amount of numbers. Everybody was wearing masks. It was great. I literally thought there was like 5 times more people than I was expecting with the situation we're in and being after school. It was great to walk through, wave to all the teachers and see all the kids. It's a whole different atmosphere, and I want to go back to normal, but we're doing what we got to do. Been great to go to the sports. Been going to sports with Jimmy and Jeff. It's really good to see board members going out. It's a tricky schedule, so not all board members can make it. So we understand that. Mr. Dudley invited me to egg toss, and I've helped him in the last couple years that we've been in school, tossing eggs off the roof and seeing if they can live. And this year was the best one ever. They used popcorn, they used water, they used the internet, and these kids came up with all these different ideas. Only 2 parachutes, and usually everybody makes a parachute. They came up with all these different ideas, and Mr. Dudley was really impressed that they used the internet to figure out the best solutions. It was great, Moving on to the change of the meeting. We appreciate you guys all willing to move the meetings. My only concern when it was first brought up is Tuesdays and Thursdays are usually the nights that the school does functions, so we need to check the calendar and make sure we're not double booking ourselves because of back to school nights, open houses, and stuff like that. But those are easily moved, especially if we catch them right away. And if there is an issue with the third Thursday, that was on the fly tonight. Just be willing to work around it. Jimmy was right. We did go to the Honor Society last night. I've never been invited, and that was the first time I was invited. I don't know if I'll get invited back, but it was.
They usually don't have them here. They usually have them somewhere else.
Yeah, they rent a hall at retirement home, and we've never been invited to that. But it was 7 students got inducted. It was pretty
I
great.
might have been.
They had cupcakes, but we had to leave first.
Wouldn't let
And-
you leave.
I think that is it. Yes, that's it. Moving on to the next board meeting will be, I don't know. The what?
20th.
October 20th. Someone's got plans on the 20th. Closed session will begin at 5:30. Regular session will begin at 6. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn.
Oh,
Whoa, come on.
oh, do it again.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion that we
We got
adjourn.
a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Guys, have a good night.